Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, Jeff.
Uh-huh.
What's up?
Oh my goodness.
Not much.
It's just kind of so yeah, not too bad. We're recording this before then, but as of the release of this episode, I will be 31.
Woo! I mean, oh man, my condolences.
Yeah.
I'll send you your gravestone.
No, it's fine. Like 30, 30 didn't really upset me too much.
Yeah.
And I feel it's 31's probably gonna upset me just as much, but it's also be less exciting.
Sure.
So
sure.
I guess overall worse, but not that bad. Like I'm not like, I mean, I get scared about my like health and stuff and like long-term things. And like, we're all afraid of death and that whole thing. But
yeah,
but I mean, as far as like the number, like, it doesn't really bother me that much. Like when I hit 40, I'll be like, oh no. Like,
yeah.
It's more the specific health problems I will be getting to in my later years that will upset me.
Sure.
The actual number right now, it's like, I mean, it's just, but 31's not as exciting as 30. So it's kind of like, oh, whatever, cause like when you're 30, like we kind of set that, like it's special because we made that a round number.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like there's really no reason for 10, 20 and 30 to be exciting other than that we were like, we decided to be base 10.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't remember if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast or not, but when my dad turned 40, which I was very young. I was maybe like 5 or 6 at the time. I feel bad because I don't know exactly how old my dad is. I hope my dad isn't listening to this. I see no reason why he ever would. But when he turned 40, on his birthday, he was working. My mom had a singing telegram go to his work. He worked in an office at the time. Uh-huh. And the singing telegram showed up dressed as the Grim Reaper. And then he proceeded to, and we were there, like we snuck in. We were like watching from the corner of the office.
Very good.
And yeah, he sang a bunch of songs and like it was weird because nobody in the office like reacted to it. Everybody just like went about their day.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh.
But at the time I didn't get the joke.
Sure.
And now I see that is so good.
Yeah. It's like, with those singing telegram sort of things. It's like when you're at a restaurant and then like it's some like the table next to you's birthday and you're just like, I just came here to eat. And so you're like, they're always trying to encourage everyone to clap or cheer or whatever and or sing along or what have you. And it's like, no, I'll just take my steak, please. Like I want we ordered a basket of fries for the table.
So we've had nice weather lately. So the other day, my wife and I, we had a fun day outside, which we have not had in a long time. We went, mini golfing, which was a lot of fun. We went to, we rode go-karts. Awesome. And we went to, batting cages. Oh, and, this is a small tangent and there's really much to the story, but a long time ago, we went to some batting cages down in Tennessee and I hit the ball back into the machine. I could never do that again. It was not on purpose.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, that's never going to happen. One of those
things that happen.
And you're like, oh, did it damage the machine?
No, it's just I don't even think it gave me an extra ball. Like my hope is that I would hit it back in and it would shoot it back at me.
And then you hit it back in again and it just
keeps going back and forth.
You get your money's worth. You're just hitting the same ball over and over
again. Right. But no, it just went, and for all I know, it like immediately bounced out of the machine and went into that hole in the middle of the ground or whatever. But a lot of fun. It's just nice to get outside.
Yeah, for sure. It's a little on the humid side for me, but
yeah,
but I mean, I got my doors and windows open for a few hours of the day. But I usually have them open like in the morning and in the afternoon because like during the hottest part of the day it starts to get a little bit muggy and I don't like that so much. But
my work has been super humid the last couple of days and whatever. Yeah. But so speaking of that, you want to get into the episode?
Sure.
I say speaking of that, like speaking of good weather as if the episode isn't going to be about good weather, but I want you to imagine.
Okay.
It's very nice outside. You're outside. You're out in your front lawn. Well, I guess you sort of have a front lawn where you live. You're outside. You're
outside.
You're outside. You're grilling up some burgers. Having a good time.
Yeah.
And then you hear "Turkey in the Straw" being played. Somewhere off in the distance, you hear a high-pitched music, and you know what that means. You look around the corner, and sure enough, there is an ice cream truck.
Yes.
And it's rolling up. All the kids in the neighborhood, because apparently, I don't know if kids in the neighborhood still get excited about the ice cream truck, but all the kids in the neighborhood are like chasing after it. Finally, it slows down, and they're getting their ice cream and stuff. And you can't really get a good look at the person who's in there, but you notice the side of the truck has all these ice creams you've never seen. I was hoping to come up with ice creams that made sense for this, but basically you notice there's like a popsicle, but it's got like rubies stuck in it.
Oh.
And then you notice an ice cream sandwich that is actually like a magic sword between two pieces of graham cracker or something. And you realize, wait a minute, something's up with this ice cream truck.
It's an oddly themed truck.
Yeah. Then you see the person inside the truck. Person, I don't know if that's the right word, but you see this person is actually a 40-foot tall red dragon. And then you look up at the sign. There's like a little sign on a spring that's like bouncing back and forth on top of the truck that says what it's called. And you have just encountered the dragon's ice cream truck. So our item for today was submitted by Sean via email, and this item is called Cessation Guard. And, interesting name. This is a masterwork set of steel or studded leather armor. I guess you could have it be either one. The ones that Sean has submitted, they all have it could be a few different things.
Sure. Yeah.
So with this one, this armor is a magical armor that gives the wearer certain protection against final death.
Ooh.
When the wearer dies, their soul goes into the armor rather than them. And the armor, rather than going off to wherever souls go.
Right.
So their soul remains in the armor for up to 2 weeks after their death, provided the armor stays on their body. So it's not even really that it goes into the armor. It's that it stays in the armor, keeps it in their body.
Sure.
It's like it's got a seal on there. So this means that during that 2-week period, the character can be resurrected exactly as if they just died.
Okay.
Now, this was written for, I believe, Pathfinder, but if this were a 5th edition item, I'm wondering if that would let you cast Revivify. And then because this was Pathfinder, in Pathfinder, all resurrection bestows a negative level. In this case, it wouldn't.
Gotcha.
So that's pretty cool. But you can only do this once a month. So if you are dying more than once a month, sucks to be you.
Well, right, yeah. If you're dying more than once a month, there's some other problems you got to take care of.
Yes. And then additionally, when the wearer kills an enemy, the armor grants 2 temporary hit points up to a total, so they stack, up to a total of twice the wearer's hit dice in any day. So like twice your level in temporary hit points you can get.
Nice.
However, this only comes from killing the enemy if you knock them unconscious. Even if they eventually bleed out, doesn't work that way.
Gotcha. You have to make the killing blow.
You have to land the killing blow. So yeah, and then the temporary hit points reset every dawn. So if you still have any at the end of the day, they go away.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so that's this item. It protects you against death by sealing your soul inside your body.
Yeah.
And then it gives you temporary hit points when you kill an enemy.
Nice.
So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes me think of Full Metal Alchemist, where Al's soul is put into a suit of armor. So this isn't quite the same because it's not like the armor can just stand up and start walking around.
Sure.
Which would be hilarious. It would be hilarious if the soul went into the armor that you're wearing, and then the armor can move, but it's just your body's just kind of like...
Oh, no. They're...
It's all ragdoll, but you're still... you're alive, but you're the armor, but kind of puppeteering your body.
Fallout New Vegas spoilers. Have you played all the Fallout New Vegas DLC?
I don't think I played all the DLC, no.
There's a DLC called Old World Blues. It is quite possibly one of the best parts of the game as a whole. It's a very, very good DLC. Mm-hmm. Has a whole bunch of voices from Futurama.
Oh, sure.
Also, one of the characters is named Gabe. And there's a dialogue option where you can say, it sounds like Gabe really loved you.
Oh.
And so our friend took a picture of that and sent it to my wife.
Nice.
But anyway, in that, you're sort of trapped in this like futuristic science base or whatever. Like you're kept from leaving until you can stop this bad guy. It's like very, very old science fiction serial.
Sure.
Yeah. Not cereal you eat, but like TV shows or radio shows or whatever.
So like laser O's.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in that there's like a suit of armor you can get that is intelligent. There's a lot of objects that are intelligent in this place. And you get the suit of armor that like it periodically will heal you. It like helps you when you're going into stealth.
Oh, I have that. Yeah, I know about that one.
And there are enemies you fight that have this sentient armor, but they died a long time ago, and it is just the armor is controlling them and running around and going crazy.
Sure, yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, I do remember that. Like, and I think I remember I like played a bit of that, got the armor, and then like I stopped playing for like a long time. And then I went back and like, you know what, I should go back and play that some more or something like that, and like and see where I'm at, and like loaded it up and completely forgot about the armor, and then it spoke and freaked me out.
Yeah,
it was just like, oh jeez. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So what you said reminded me of that, which I guess is not how this item works, but
right.
You know. What I want to know is what is your soul experiencing while it's in the armor?
Yeah, I don't know.
It could be absolute torment.
Sure.
It could be the greatest thing ever. Maybe your character becomes obsessed with getting killed again after a month has passed.
Oh, right.
So that they can spend those 2 weeks in the kind of like in Star Trek Generations.
Okay.
And then
right, yeah, so like being trapped in this armor was the best thing they ever experienced, and so they just want to do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
That's really morbid.
Right, yeah, that's sort of
maybe this armor used to belong to somebody else. And it was stolen, and your character has it, and now the previous owner is trying to track you down and kill you so that he can have the armor back.
Yeah. Or like you took the armor off of a corpse.
Yeah. And that's good.
The armor still had the soul of somebody else trapped inside there, so that if you ever died, maybe you're not the one that comes back out.
Oh, snap. High five, Jeff. That was awesome. That was awesome. All right. Well, so I think this is a cool item. I think the implications of the item are even more interesting than the item itself. But yeah.
I think I like items that have that sort of thing, like where it's fairly simple, like it's cool, but it's simple, but then like the implications are very like, how would that work? Like, how can you tie more character development and story development into like the, trying to explain how this stuff works.
Yeah. So that, that's pretty cool. That was Cessation Guard by Sean. I think
it was a sensation.
Good job, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's fine. I think I want to try to get into the habit of saying the name of the item at the end, because we always say it at the beginning and then never come back to what the item was called. Yeah. So Cessation Guard from Sean. If anybody wanted to submit items for the Dragon's Hoard, or questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, Jeff, how would they do so?
You could send us an email at InterPartyConflict@gmail.com.
Yes. Well, we have a giveaway to do today.
We do.
So we are giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, as we are wont to do.
Yes.
And that is from Goblin Stone. So, Jeff, today, who is our winner?
Our winner this week is Jonathan S.
Yes. Congratulations, Jonathan S. Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. If you like the adventure, or if you don't like the adventure, let Goblin Stone know. Their website is goblinstone.com. And if you don't get that, like if it doesn't arrive, it's probably in your spam folder. If it's not in your spam folder within 24 hours, then let us know. I always get a copy, so I will forward that to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you to Goblin Stone for giving our listeners this awesome thing. And if anybody wanted to enter this drawing, how would they do that?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with the subject line Chapel on the Cliffs.
Yes. I could ask you once again what that email address is, of course, being interpartyconflict@gmail.com.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to.
gmail.com, right?
Exactly. But we already did that whole interpartyconflict@gmail.com bit last week.
Right, yeah. So if we were to continue saying interpartyconflict@gmail.com, that'd be sort of like it'd be like beating the dead horse. Or
wait a minute, hang on. Did you say interpartyconflict@gmail.com, or did you say InterPartyConflict@gmail.com.
Oh shoot, you're right. You know what? Let's go back and re-record so that we just so people don't get confused and think that we said InterPartyConflict.
We did. Now I'm getting confused. We did say InterPartyConflict@gmail.com.
Did we? Okay, then we're fine. All right. That's good.
I hope we don't get a lot of hate mail after this. At InterPartyConflict@gmail.com. All right. So as always, go check out our Patreon, patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. We've got some good stuff on there.
Yeah.
By now my monthly fantasy fiction should be up, and we will be coming out with a bonus episode for $5 and up patrons pretty soon.
Yes.
And yeah, we've got some good stuff. Anything you give us will go towards making the show better and get you some cool content in return.
Awesome.
And then check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. They make new and reusable content for you guys. And D&D Character Lab, the hosts make characters and pit them against each other.
Cool.
They're great.
Yeah.
All these shows are great. So go check them out. You can go to critnation.com. And Justin has like a list of all of us, and as well as Goblin Stone and all the other creators that are partnered with us.
Awesome.
Cool. So yeah, you want to go ahead and get into some questions?
Sure. All right. Our first question comes from Adam B through email, and that would be at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. How can I clue my players into things happening behind the scenes, unrest and racism in the land, etc., without outright telling the players?
Yeah, so he actually gave me I very much condensed what he was asking into that sentence. He was telling me that he has a game going on where there's a lot of unrest and racism in the land. Like the king is very wary against anybody who is not human because of some like wars that have been going on and like splinter cells and so on that are trying to like overthrow the crown. And so he was asking, how can I get this across to the players without just saying, hey guys, the king hates everybody who hates non-humans and stuff like that. And I gave him an answer then, and I've thought about it, and I pretty much have the same answer now. I think the best way to do that is show, don't tell.
Right.
So what that means is don't tell your players, show your players. What sort of effects would this have on the world around you, on like the city? You could have the players going through a city, and then you can show the players through the reactions and the actions of the NPCs. So let's say the players are going through town, and they see a half orc or something being beaten by the human guards in plain view, and nobody is doing anything about it.
Sure.
Something like that would tell the players this is commonplace enough, this is accepted enough that the guards aren't even hiding it.
Right.
Yeah,
it's just out in the open and no one's batting an eye.
Yeah.
Or maybe, people might be like looking away or something like that, or there might be people who are kind of grimacing at it, so like they're maybe it's not everyone's held belief.
Sure.
Like it could just be the king, or it could be half the town, that has these thoughts. And so yeah, it could be that like if it's out in the open and the guard's doing it and everyone's just gonna happy and gleefully going about their business, then like, okay, this is a racist town.
Yeah, pretty much.
But if it's if it is just the king or something, it could be that. But like everyone's everyone seems to disappear in that situation. Like,
sure.
They don't like that it's going down, but there's not much they can do about it.
Yeah. And let's say the players do decide to get involved. They might think that this is a plot hook, which it doesn't necessarily have to be. Maybe like they do so, maybe the half orc thanks them. Maybe the half orc is terrified of them and runs away.
Yeah.
But then have there be repercussions for them having interfered with this. It could be that, now guards are coming after them. It doesn't necessarily have to be that, but it could also be now certain businesses won't serve the PCs, even if the PCs are human.
Right.
Because they know, oh, you're the ones that stopped the guards from, doing whatever.
Or like basically the entire time they're at the town, they're being like tailed by guards.
Sure.
The whole time. And like maybe the rogue in the group is getting really frustrated about it because he can't do any of his pickpocketing because he's always being watched now that they've done this thing.
Exactly. So like the king's attitude is going to be reflected in how the guards act, but not necessarily I'm not necessarily the guards aren't necessarily going to agree. It very well might be that like maybe they witness a half-orc getting beaten and then the guards go on their way, but then maybe they see one of the guards like hangs back and I don't know, apologizes or something.
Right.
Or just looks reluctant while it's happening.
Right, yeah. You could do I don't know if Force Awakens spoilers, you'd be like Finn where like there's one stormtrooper, like he's the one stormtrooper who doesn't shoot the people, you know, like
that's first 5 minutes of the movie. That's not a spoiler,
sure.
But yeah.
Yeah, but basically, like, yeah, it's a group of 3 guards. One of them isn't exactly being a part of it. One's holding him down, the other one's beating him up, and the third one's going like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, and if you were to show a scene like this, then showing that there is one person who isn't engaging in it, but then maybe the other guards like bully him into it.
Sure.
Then that tells you a few things. Number one, tells you that the king or whoever is giving the guards their instructions hates half-orcs or whatever. But then also it shows that not everybody feels that way.
Right.
But it shows that the people that do feel that way are brazen enough to bully people into acting the way that they're acting.
Right. Yeah.
So another way to get something like this across to your players is to show that not everyone feels that way. Let me try to come up with an analogy here. When I used to work for a short period of time, I worked at a call center where we worked for a pharmacy company where we would call people and help them like get their insurance set up for the following year. And one thing they told us, if someone says thank you, don't say no problem, which is weird because I always say no problem. That's like my go-to response when someone says thank you. I say, oh, no problem, to show like, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. They would tell us, don't say no problem, because when you say no problem, you're implying that there might have been a problem, which I think is a little goofy. Yeah. But if the players walk into this new town, this new land, whatever, and the first thing that they see is people protesting, saying half-orcs deserve to be treated just like anybody else, that not only shows you that these people are pro-half-orc, but it shows you, oh, a bigger group of people is anti-half-orc.
Sure.
You know, so it's a subtle thing that you can use to show players that the vocal minority is in fact the minority. The people who are in power aren't going to be picketing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how you can get that across. Another thing you can do is not even necessarily just for racism, but for any sort of like corruption or whatever. You can show the players that there are like hidden factions that are working against whatever is in power.
Right, yeah.
So like, let's say the players show up in town and they see like somebody graffitied a symbol on the wall. They're like, oh, well, wonder what that is. And then they find out, oh, that's the symbol of this radical group that's trying to overthrow the king or something. And then once they learn more about that, then again, that clues them into, well, the crown is doing things that at least some people are fighting against with their lives. Right. So that can get a strong message across while still being relatively subtle. And then the players can choose whether they want to work with them if it's a cause they agree with. They can, search out whatever that organization is or whatever. Yeah. Or if the radical group is in fact the bad guys, or at least the players perceive them as bad guys, they can show up at City Hall and be like, hey, we'll help you track down these people if you pay us.
Sure.
I'm not saying that this has to be something that is the crown is inherently bad, although I think it was framed that way in the question, but
yeah. And I mean, like how deep you want this like corruption or unrest to be, like different ways to illustrate that. So like if it is something like, there is like racism against like orcs or half orcs or whatever, like, but it's not like it hasn't gotten so extreme. It could be like you might come across some like on the way to the town, you come across some half orcs that look like they've been basically kicked out.
Sure.
And or if you want to go to the extreme, it's like you get there and there's no one but humans.
Yeah.
And nobody mentions it. Like they don't say anything about it. And if you have non-humans in your group, like things are really tense or something. And so that's why that's you're telling even less with that, but you're showing more in that, like they get there and they might not even notice it at first. And it's just like, okay, you come across, so-and-so, he's a human, he's a male, and it's got this, well, he's wearing this armor or whatever. And it's like, okay. And then you get to the keep, and the the innkeeper is also a human, and like they slowly realize it's like, oh, everyone here is human.
Yeah.
And we've been getting really weird looks because, my half-orc bard character is in the group or whatever.
Half-orc bard, that's pretty good.
Hey.
You could even say that like there are non-humans in the town, but they are all in like the most menial jobs ever. Like,
sure.
oh, that every janitor is a halfling or something like that.
Right.
Now, like getting into stuff like that, I feel might be a little bit getting too close to just telling the players, like having like you walk into town, oh, and the elf somebody spits on him or something like that.
Yeah,
I guess that's a way to do it, but that's a bit too on the nose.
Right. Yeah. Like, yeah, there's, I mean, like having the guards beating somebody up and something like that. That's sort of out in the open, and it can be kind of obvious in some, depending. I mean, it might just be that those particular guards are jerks or something like that. Sure. But yeah, there are probably some subtler ways to do it. But yeah, if you're trying to get the idea across to the players without just outright saying it, be persistent with it, don't outright say it, but be like consistent and persistent. It's just like I said, with if you want the idea that it's like a town of only humans, or like humans in better positions, like make sure to say like oh, this NPC you come across is this and this and a human and this and this, and just sort of like make sure that you state it every time.
Sure. So
that they start to connect the dots and say like, oh, we haven't run across a single elf or halfling or anything since we've been here.
Yeah. Yeah, you might even just, if the players aren't getting it or whatever, just after a while have them make a check and be like, oh, you notice everybody here kind of looks the same.
Right, yeah. In fact, they're all clones.
Oh, man, what if the whole city was clones?
But they're clones of a doppelganger, so that they just changed their form anyway.
There was a Mutants and Masterminds game. I didn't play in it, but I heard about it. I played in this group that had previously finished a Mutants and Masterminds campaign where one of the guys had time travel and duplication, and apparently took it upon himself to go throughout all history and replace every person in history with himself. Or something. I don't really know exactly how that worked, but
oh my god,
maybe he might have had the ability to let him change form to the point where it even changes like your DNA and stuff. And then literally just changed himself into everyone.
So it's just like anybody important in history, like, oh, yep, that was me.
Pretty much, yeah. Anyway,
our next question comes through Twitter, and it's from @Zatsia. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
Like they're gonna zats you.
Sure.
I don't know. The question is, in 5th edition, can a paladin using an attack with divine smite that brings a creature's hit points to 0 declare it as non-lethal?
Yeah. Well, before we get to the question, I just want to say this is our first Twitter question we've done on the show.
Yeah.
It's not the first one we've gotten. We got one other one right before this one that I don't have a good answer for, so we haven't done it yet. But yeah, these are the first Twitter questions we've gotten.
Yeah.
So thumbs up.
So cool.
Yeah.
As far as the rules read, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Like I don't think the declaring non-lethal has any sort of like specifics other than if you knock something to 0, you decide whether or not to kill it or not.
Pretty much. Yeah. So in 5th edition, if you reduce a creature to 0 hit points with a melee attack.
Oh, that's true.
You can't be a ranged, unless I'm mistaken, it can't be a ranged attack or a magic attack.
Okay.
But, or I mean, I guess maybe if it was a melee magic, I don't know, whatever. But I'm pretty sure if it is with a melee attack, you can choose whether you kill them or knock them unconscious.
Uh-huh.
So this question is asking, well, that may be, but if your attack is a divine smite,
right,
can that be a knockout or can that only be a kill? Now, rules wise, like you were saying, I think the rules are pretty clear. It can be whatever.
Yeah.
But I could see a DM ruling otherwise for thematic purposes.
Yeah. It could depend on where the paladin gets their abilities from. Like if it is sort of like a traditional paladin where they get it from a deity or something. It's like it's the deity's choice then whether or not to,
sure,
that sort of thing. So I mean, or if you want to read deeper into the rules and say like, oh, it's like, well, you're adding magic to the attack. If it's magical, you can't necessarily decide whether it's lethal or non-lethal. So maybe like adding that magical energy to it kind of negates that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, it's up to the DM, I guess. It really is the easiest way to answer it. But somebody who wants to read the rules specifically, like they might say like, okay, no, obviously I can choose, but sure. if the DM has a good reason for it, that's one of those things that might come down to like a rules lawyer sort of situation. Yeah.
Because the rules are pretty clear, but I think it would be really cool if the DM instead instated that some sort of rule that if you drop into 0 with a smite, something specific happens to them depending on like what type of paladin you are. Let's say you're a paladin who's all about like restraining people. Maybe you hit them with this energy and now they're unconscious, but they're wrapped up in like magical energy that has them bound or something.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Let's say you're like one of the paladin. There's like that paladin of nature, not really nature, but it was like the paladin of the Oath of the Ancients.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Maybe you kill them, but you turn them into a tree or something.
Yeah, they come back.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a plant starts sprouting from their body or something crazy.
So like I could see it being cool if it was something specific happened depending on what type of oath you had.
Right.
But rules wise, it's a melee attack, so it can be whatever.
And in 5th edition, you can smite anybody, can't you?
You can. Yeah. In earlier editions, it was only evil creatures or whatever.
Because I think because it's your only real, you can just, it's just a thing you can add damage to your attack. Mm-hmm. I would rule it that you can choose whether or not.
Sure.
If it was more like older editions where it was specifically you smite evil, which means like if it was an evil thing, or like if it's an undead or an evil monster or something like that, then you can add the extra the extra damage or whatever. I think because the idea is that you're smiting this evil thing to destroy it.
Sure.
In most cases, like the things that smite worked on are usually, most of the time, you're not going to want that to be alive.
Yeah, I mean, undead couldn't be knocked unconscious in earlier editions.
Right,
but,
yeah.
But yeah, so you would want to destroy that. Demons, there's no chance of rehabilitating them or anything.
Right, exactly. Like, when a smite was specifically geared towards things that really you can't do much other than kill them or run away from them, those are your options, because they're just like these evil things that are always out to get you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't really even be a choice. You'd be like, no, I'm going to kill it. I don't want it to come back and kill me.
Sure.
So because because it can be used on anything, I feel like you'll have more reasons to not want to kill a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like it is not explicitly that you are doing your god's work or whatever. Yeah. It is just, well, I need to put this thing down, so whatever.
Yeah.
So pretty simple question, I think, but
there's also the Oath of Redemption is one of the I think the ones from Xanathar.
There you go.
And that's specifically, you might be like, I will always do non-lethal because I want to see if I can redeem this person or whatever.
I was going to say that maybe I would even say that you cannot kill someone with a smite if that is your thing. I don't know. Maybe.
I wonder if there. I haven't read through that oath. There might even just be something in there that says you can't kill people or something.
I don't know.
Actually, I feel like that is a thing. I'll have to look at that oath. That
okay.
Might be interesting. All right, our next question comes through Facebook. This was from Brett, and they ask, what is a one-shot? Do they have to have a satisfying ending? And are one-shots good or bad for the game?
Yeah. So I guess a simple explanation of the first question. A one-shot it's not explicitly D&D, but I think a lot of people use it to refer to a lot of things D&D does. But basically it is an adventure or like a game module that is explicitly meant to be on its own. Like it is typically when you run a one shot, you've made characters specifically for that. And then after it's over, you do not intend on playing with those characters in that same world again.
Right. And that could be a single adventure or even just a single session too.
Sure. And there are a lot of games that the game itself is intended to be a one shot. For example, my brother's game, The Mountain Witch, I think it's meant to be done over 2 sessions, but like when it's over, you you aren't going to be going back and playing with those characters again.
Right, yeah. It's just this it's a single story and
Yeah.
like, a single adventure, and then that's the story.
Yeah. So like a lot of the time in D&D, an adventure might not be meant to be a one-shot, but pretty much most of them can be played as a one-shot whenever.
Right.
So like if you're ever you have some friends over and you're like, hey, you guys want to play D&D today? And they say, yeah, sure. And then you don't think you don't know if there's going to be a chance to play with them again. So that's not your goal. Your goal isn't to set up an overarching story. It is just to play this one adventure. And then if you can play more after that, cool.
Yeah.
But that's not the intention from the beginning. Or at least that's not the hope from the beginning.
The idea of a one shot is so it's I don't know. I always get excited when I think about it. It's like, yeah, we can play a quick game of D&D, and it's like it is hard to do that, especially it's just like building a character, because you're either going to take way too much time building the character and getting set up and everything like that, or you have like a pool of random characters to pull from. But then you don't get the feel of those characters, and you might not have as much fun because by the time you get used to that character, you're getting towards the end of the adventure. Yeah. And but there is some fun to just kind of like winging it and just going for it and just getting something done, which I'm getting closer and closer to like just trying to do sometimes, just because I don't play as much anymore, and I want to play, and doing this podcast and watching videos on D&D, and I'm building a character to play in a D&D campaign, but it's still going to be some time before I get to actually play in it. Yeah. So I'm like, it's like a one shot sounding more and more appetizing, but it is no more easier to pull off.
Sure. Yeah. One of the things about D&D is that it takes a long time to make a character. Yeah. Less so in 5th edition than in say 3rd edition, but it's still it takes a while. So the value proposition is a bit more skewed, because it's like, well, I'm going to spend 2 hours making the character and then 4 hours playing the character. Right. So I think some people might argue that other games that are lighter on rules might be better for one shots, but you can still do them easily with D&D. Yeah. As for whether they have to have a satisfying ending, I mean, they probably should, because you probably don't have a guarantee that you will ever play with those characters again. So it is probably better to at least have it be at least sort of satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you want all the ends of all games to be satisfying. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what you want. Yeah. Does it have to be? I mean, it might not be. And if it's not, that's not going to be the end of the world. But it might not be so bad because it's just a one shot. Sure. It's like, and you guys killed the dragon. Yay, bye. You know?
If your 2-year long campaign ends with an unsatisfying ending, you're going to remember that.
Right, yeah.
But if that one shot was like, oh, that ending was kind of crappy. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah, and it might have been like, yeah, that kind of sucks, but then you might be able to think, okay, we won't do that again. Mm-hmm. We won't end it that way again, and then you learn those lessons for the longer campaigns, I guess. Sure. So the last question there is it good or bad?
Oh, I would say good.
Good, absolutely.
Good, absolutely.
There's no real reason to not play. Yeah. It's more of a reason that you can't play.
Sure.
That's the problem. It's not being able to play, and this kind of solves that for some people, where if you just want to sit down and get some D&D done somewhere.
And to show you why I think they are good for the game, let me there's a TV show. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. I think it used to be pretty popular, and it's kind of waned in its days, but it is called the Simpsons or something like that. Have you ever heard of that?
All right. Yeah.
well, the Simpsons, they have a thing that they do every year called the Treehouse of Terror.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Treehouse of Terror, Treehouse of Horror?
Treehouse of Horror?
Treehouse of Horror. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Why am I'm embarrassed for myself right now.
I'm not cutting that out.
That's fine. So the Treehouse of Horror it's basically every Halloween, they do a Halloween episode. And if you were to go back, because this show's been on for 70 years. Right. It's been on longer than television has been on. Yeah. If you were to go back to the first few seasons, they're all like, oh, here's like a good Halloween story. Here's like, oh, a spoof of a horror movie or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's what a lot of them were. And I would say some of them probably still are.
Yeah.
Eventually, though, they kind of, they are less about horror and more about, oh, this doesn't have to fit into the continuity of the show.
Right.
And that is it's a good thing and a bad thing. I would say in a lot of cases, it's a bad thing for The Simpsons because the episodes tend to be less, they tend to be less high quality just because the writing is because they don't have to worry about how to wrap everything up. They're just like, oh, everybody dies.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that it's a lot more fun for the writers because they don't have to end it in the status quo. Mm-hmm. So similar in a game like D&D, if you run a one-shot, you don't have to make a character that is going to be fun for an entire campaign.
Yeah.
I will give an example of a character that I have had in my mind for a very, very long time.
Uh-huh.
Although I have actually started playing him in an actual campaign, but I'll get to that. So I've told you about this character. You already know what I'm going to say. I've told you about this character. I have vaguely referenced him in other episodes, but I've never actually any actual mention of him. I've made sure to cut out. There's a character that I have made who goes by the name The Shoulder. his when I first came up with him, his whole concept was he was a character that fights with armor spikes. Back in 3rd edition when armor spikes were like a weapon. That was listed in the book. And so the idea was that his shoulders would have armor spikes on them, and then his main attack would be just like running and slamming into them with his spiked shoulders. Mm-hmm. And I thought this was a funny concept. And then I even thought like, hey, what if in addition to using his actual shoulder, what if he also has a great club made out of stone?
Uh-huh.
That was once the arm of a statue.
Right.
And the part that he hits them with is the shoulder. Exactly. And then I've thought, what if this character can't speak, or he can speak, but similar to Groot, the only thing he can say is the shoulder. And so if it's like, oh man, gosh, how are we going to get through this door? It's this door is jammed. How are we going to get through? The shoulder. Hey, what should we eat for dinner? The shoulder. What do you feel about life? The shoulder, And so I've come up with a 5th edition custom background for him. Uh-huh. The background is titled The Shoulder.
Yep.
And then his character trait is that he tends to approach problems as head on as possible, except that is translated into the shoulder. And then his bond, the thing that he is like the most valuable to him, the trait or whatever that is the most valuable to him, is his physical might. If he can't overcome a problem with his physical might, he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And that similarly is translated to the shoulder. His ideal is that, might is the best thing, and overcoming problems should be done in the most straightforward way possible. Mm-hmm. Translated to the shoulder. And then his flaw is that he isn't able to think outside the box and kind of takes things on head on like all the other traits, aka the shoulder. And so anyway, the whole thing with this character is that he can't really speak, but he's all about the shoulder.
Right.
And I think that for a long time, I thought that would be a fun character to play in a one shot.
Uh-huh.
Cause like, what are you going to do with them for a whole campaign? You know
right.
what I mean? Well, a few weeks ago, my D&D group at work, we were doing the Tomb of Annihilation. I think I mentioned a couple episodes ago. And then the DM decided he wanted to scrap that and do something else. And I was like, I have a character I want to try.
Try it out.
And I was immediately regretting it because it's like the group, the rest of the players are fairly new. And so they're not super like engaging with the world.
Sure.
And so, like, in our previous campaign, like, I was the one who did the most of the talking, just because...
Oh, goodness.
And then I'm immediately regretting this, but as I'm telling the rest of the group about it, they love the idea so much that I'm like, well...
Yeah.
I got to do it. Now I got to do it.
It's a crowd favorite.
Exactly.
You got to do it.
So I've been playing with it. We've played 2 sessions so far, and it's actually been pretty fun, but it has been really tough because there have been times where we needed to talk to people and the other players are just not doing a great job of getting across what we're trying to say to the other person. But like, I can't say anything.
Right.
So
Well, is it? Can you do like if you're? Did your character have like a high charisma or low charisma or what?
10, I think.
10.
Yeah.
I mean, like they'd be like, you could say to the DM, I want to try and convey this.
I mean,
roll a persuasion check and then go the shoulder, and then you'd be like, all right, they kind of get the gist of what you're trying to say.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The Mike, the DM, is kind of, he's asked like, so is this like a Family Guy thing? Are you like Stewie that like most people just understand you? I've said no, because that would defeat the entire purpose. The entire purpose is to
get the gist of what you're saying, Stumpy.
Yes. So the point is to get across what I'm trying to say in as simple of a way as possible. Mm-hmm. So like I will use hand motions and I'll say it with specific intonation and so on. And there have been times where I've been like, I indicate this to them.
Right.
And so on. I would understand if the DM wanted to be a little bit more strict about that, but I think he's purposely being a bit more loose with it so as to keep the game moving.
Because it's a self-imposed challenge sort of thing where like you're basically taking a huge penalty for nothing other than entertainment value.
Yeah. There's no reason why my character would be like, I'm getting no benefit from it.
Yeah, you didn't like get an extra feat for doing this or anything like that.
Oh, maybe I should talk to DM and see how you get an extra feat.
Right.
So this character I think would have been much more well suited for a one-shot. But I even told the DM, if we get a few sessions in and I'm realizing this is just not working, I'll make a different character.
Sure.
but
he'll shoulder himself into a monster or something.
Exactly. So our last session was a lot of fun. It was almost entirely role-playing. Like we were gifted a mansion basically by this person in town. They were like, this is a rundown mansion. We're going to hire you to do a bunch of adventures for us. In the meantime, you can stay in this place. And so we have like a little home base.
Cool.
And so almost the entire session was the players just being like, oh, hey, yeah, we want to get this fixed up. We want to hire this, we want to hire a maid. We want to hire a chef and so on. And there was a point where one of the players, his name is Joe, he was just like, I'm going to write a play. And all of us are like, okay.
Yeah.
And then it could have just ended at that. But I told him, my character shows up to audition. And then, and so I was like, the shoulder. Anyway, I rolled really bad. And then he said I didn't get the part, and one of the butlers got the part instead. And then I said that my character was like sulking in his room and writing in his journal.
Is it just writing the shoulder,
yes,
the shoulder,
yes.
the shoulder? It'd be funny if he like showed up and found out like the person who got the part was somebody with the butler. Butler.
Oh, goodness. Oh, that's good.
And like everyone just stands up and claps.
Yeah,
like crying, like, "Oh my god, he's amazing."
I did write a character backstory for him, and I sent it to the DM before the campaign. And I decided that he has a nemesis.
Okay.
His nemesis's name is I spelled it THUNNY. The knee. And his nemesis wears like metal pants that were made out of an iron golem.
Sure.
And his fighting style is he like hits people with his knee. Anyway, so this character is very much a one-shot character. And that's the thing about one-shots is that like if you have a character concept you want to try out, that you don't know if it would be good for a whole campaign,
right?
Try it out in a one-shot. Mm-hmm. And also you don't have to worry about, you can do things in the adventure that you wouldn't do in a full campaign. You could have the adventure end with the world getting destroyed.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like the party getting killed, that sort of thing. It's like, oh, yep, well that was it. And like then no one's going to be that upset about it because it was just a one shot anyway. Yeah.
So the point I was trying to make with that reference to The Simpsons is that the whole thing with these Treehouse of Horror episodes is that they don't have to fit the rest of the show. So they can do literally anything in one of those episodes. A lot of them end up not even being horror anymore because it's just like, oh, here's just a non-canon episode.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that there are canon episodes in The Simpsons, but yeah, so the writers are able to do things they would normally not be able to do or would not feel comfortable doing.
Right.
As a DM, you can throw incredibly powerful monsters at the PCs, especially at the end of the adventure, because if the PCs die, oh well.
Yeah.
That's might be an unsatisfying ending, but you didn't have a whole campaign planned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So one shots I think are like undoubtedly good for D&D or for whatever game.
Yeah.
Because you're getting little bites. You don't have to sit down for a whole meal. You can get a little snack here, a little snack there, and so on.
Yeah, it's a good way to introduce players to the game too.
Sure.
Just so they don't have to commit to a whole campaign. If it's that way, if they don't like it, they could just step out, and that's not a big deal. Whatever. Or if it is something they like, they at least get a taste of it, and then they'd be like, let's do that again. And then
sure.
Maybe do another one shot, and then they're like, let's do a whole thing now.
Yeah. So as for making it a satisfying ending or not, I personally like, even with my one-shots, I always like for the story to be about 75% satisfying. I always want it to be the main conflict has been resolved, but there is still a thread that the players can follow if they want to come back to this.
Sure.
So like if when I did the first library D&D game, I had the players, they were hired to go in and like save some miners or something that were trapped in this mine. They get there, they find out there's not actually miners trapped in the mine. Instead, there's this like evil necromancer in there is trying to open up a portal to whatever. They kill him, they stop the necromancer. They get outside and find out that the person, so that's been resolved. Yeah. Then they find out the person that hired them is some sort of mysterious dude that wanted that necromancer out of the picture. So that's like the hook for future adventures.
Yeah.
And then I had the following one, because I meant to follow up on that one, but I ended up not doing it. The following adventure is the players wake up in a jail and they have to get out of the jail. They get out of the jail, but then when they get out, they find out, oh crap, while we were in jail, the whole town has been attacked by monsters.
Right.
So that's the hook for the third adventure, which the third adventure I would say was pretty much just a satisfying ending. I didn't have anything planned to continue after that. But they're able to open up a way for the like royal guard to come into the town and save the town. So like the players are able to essentially save the town from being destroyed.
Yeah.
So like with those, each of those could have been a one shot. The last one might have required a little bit of setup because I did have it pick up immediately after the previous one.
Sure.
But I try to run all of my library games as one shots just because I don't know who's going to be there next time.
Right. Yeah.
So with those, I try to have each one, if there is any setup required, it is like one sentence telling you, here's why you're here. Here's what you're doing. You know? So I think one shots are really, really good.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they will be satisfying as a whole campaign. I don't think you could run an entire year of one shots. I mean, you could, but it might get a little, I don't know, it might be lacking something as you go on.
Sure.
So, but it all depends on the players and so on. So I think one shots are great, and I very much recommend them to everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that will do it for questions for today. So I guess let's sit back. Let's take a deep sip of our RC Cola. And let's toss another log onto the funeral pyre. This funeral pyre story was submitted by Jom via email. Oh, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but Jom, he's a patron of ours. He's also, he's been a listener for a long time. He's submitted stuff. He has a podcast of his own.
Oh yeah,
it is called Teachings of an Archmage.
Oh,
and he comes out. I want to say he comes out like once a month. It's not super. It's not like got like regular releases or anything, but it is all about Forgotten Realms lore.
Oh, cool.
So it's really cool. He's got like an episode about demons. He's got an episode about the Weave. He's got an episode about the Harpers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really fun podcast, so everybody go check it out. And it's just him, and it's very well prepared and produced and everything. It's really nice.
Nice.
Anyway, so he sent the story via email. This story is about an orc named Squee. Squee and his friends were searching for Wave Echo Cave near Phandalin. They came across the armory with a rug just inside the door. His ally, Erwin Frostbeard, said, "I'll go first, you cowards," as the party sat outside the door. He walked in, joked about the rug being alive by picking it up and waving it. However, the rug was alive, and it wrapped him up. So, long story short, Erwin was knocked unconscious by the rug. Squee apparently also got wrapped up in the rug and was knocked unconscious as well. And the Elven Ranger, Halt, knew he lacked the muscles to free Squee, so he decided to cut him out of the rug. While he was doing so, Squee lost 2 death saving throws while he was unconscious, And then when his turn came around, he rolled and failed his last. Squee was the only victim, Jom says, he was the only victim I've ever heard or known about to die during a battle with a rug of smothering.
Oh, goodness.
So to be fair, the elf hates orcs. The elf that killed him hates orcs. So, maybe it was intentional. I don't know. Anyway, the bright side, though, is that now the party is trying to bring Squee back.
Oh, okay.
So he can be a part of the party again.
Yeah.
So I guess
he'll like wake up with like a fear of rugs or something.
Yeah, I got that. Long-term madness.
Well, yeah. Roll on that long-term madness.
So let's raise a glass in memory of Squee, who just got too wrapped up in his work.
Oh, clink.
Well, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. Oh, and I should mention, because I was about to say, for show notes, a running list of questions asked, and important links, go to interpartyconflict.com, which is the case, although I need to renew the domain. For over a year, like a year and a half almost, I've been saying for a running list of questions, go to our website. And it was just brought to my attention by our friend Jack. He sent me an email that I don't have a running list of questions on the website. In my mind, what I've been thinking of every time I say that is that every time I put up a blog post for an episode, that episode has a numbered list of questions that we covered in that episode. But I have never actually made a list of all of the questions in a row. I have one in my own notes, like on our Google spreadsheet that has like all the questions that are still waiting to be answered.
Yeah.
But I don't have a running list of questions on the website that anybody can go see. For a year and a half, I've been telling people for a running list of questions, go to the website, and it's not there. So I want to apologize, everybody.
How dare.
Thank you to Jack for bringing that to my attention. I'm not shaking my fist at you at all. But by the time this episode goes out, I will have a numbered list that you can see every single question we have covered from, what was our first question? I don't know. Whatever our first question was up until whatever the question was we just answered.
From what is a die? And
pretty much. Yeah. So anyway, you can, by the time this episode comes out, there will be a list on our blog, which I'm still trying to find time to make a dedicated website. So I apologize for that as well. I'm just going to apologize for a bunch of other stuff, ahead of time. Sorry, guys. Anyway, find us on Facebook at facebook.com/interpartyconflict or our subreddit at reddit.com/r/interpartyconflict, where I post weekly discussion questions for you. We're also on Twitter at InPartyConflict. And as we showed this episode, you can send us questions on Twitter.
Yeah.
You can find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. We got some reviews on iTunes recently.
Awesome.
So they're all 5 stars. That's really cool.
Awesome. Not that even better.
Even better. If somebody had a non 5-star review, if that's how they feel, that's fine. But I'm glad that all our reviews have been 5 stars.
That's fine.
Anyway, we recently started a Patreon, so check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, you want to tell us about FriendQuest?
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes, and if you'd like to submit some of your childhood memories of going to the arcade, either write them to us in an email or record it yourself and send it to me that way. And you can send those to arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time,
don't trip on the rug.
There you go.